Before we get into all of the fuck shit that is going on today, let's go ahead and take a look at this video. This is from Ben Hoerman, a channel with 82,000 subs, and it's called The Rise of Online Cruelty. Now, as per usual with stuff like this, I don't know this creator, I don't know what their political affiliations are, but I saw a weird Asmongold stretch-faced on the thumbnail, so that's good enough for me. Let's go and see what's going on. And in the meantime, we're going to play some Halo Wars 2.
When YouTube was just this? A platform of self-expression. A platform without legacy media flooding your recommendations. No television-level production with the main intention to just generate profit.
I do remember that, but I feel as though... Okay, so there's a couple of things that I need to point out here, though. Legacy media coming onto YouTube was a horrible fucking mistake. Agreed. But there is an aspect where YouTube could not have been made a career prior to a lot of these evolutions to YouTube, and there's plenty of people who have made YouTube a career, and I think that it's a very interesting one for us to have access to, because there's plenty of people who, say, are disabled, and they do not have a ton of avenues for revenue, and at least in the United States, the disability system's fucked. So sometimes those people will end up making videos about their passions or about the things they've studied, and they can make a living that way. Now, all of this is me saying that I think people should be able to make a living in a world that routinely fucks us in general, but while I would prefer a system like UBI to take over so that everybody could have their basic needs met, until that happens, there is a little bit of give and take with where YouTube's concerned. The take on there has been YouTube repeatedly lowering the amount of money that creators get for the same amount of effort. There was a time where most creators made a video every month or so on the platform, and for some of them that was actually enough to sustain them. But as YouTube has become more prolific, and as long-form videos have become more necessary, there is less time for people on the platform who are watching it to spread that time out in general. When I started on YouTube, the meta for growth was collaborating with people, and now that doesn't grow your channel very much anymore. Now, collaborating with other creators is a thing you do for fun, but you don't really do it for channel growth anymore, because everybody's making long-form content. Not everybody has the time to spend watching everybody's 5 to 10 episodes a month that they're putting out in order to survive. But I do remember when YouTube was, you know, less fucked.
Good times, man. So, did Mr. Beast ruin YouTube? While I certainly miss the times when YouTube was just about that, you broadcast.
Mr. Beast didn't ruin YouTube because YouTube was already on this path before Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast was just the final nail in that particular coffin.
Yourself? I think someone like Mr. Beast was simply inevitable. Mr. Beastification is the natural progression of a platform driven by spectacle and profit. But there's always one key part that's missing when I see content romanticizing about the old days of YouTube, or even the internet as a whole. What happens when platforms only driven by spectacle and profit become unstoppable forces? Not just the rise of corporate soulless slob colonizing your time, but most importantly, the rise of cruelty.
Colonizing your time, that is an interesting way to put it. I guess it's not a terribly inaccurate phrase, all things considered, but I'd never considered using that phrase before to talk about the ways that stuff gets monopolized. Because I'm used to saying that, you know, your time gets monopolized because, as far as I'm concerned, that's what's happening, is that you only have so much time in your day as a creator and as a person watching content, and the thinner we have to spread ourselves as creator, the more stuff we have to put out on YouTube, the more people are not, or the less people are going to be able to even make this a career in the first place.
What happens when drama meets real life? In this film, we'll go through the various stages of structural online cruelty, ending with who I think could be considered as one of the main architects responsible for the rising online cruelty and therefore the rise of political cruelty worldwide.
Or is it going to be Ben Shapiro?
Has always been part of the internet. I'm not naive. We all know what the internet is capable of. Like, I don't know if you can remember this, but the case of Amenetot. Eyeballed, I know, predatory content creators, swatting, lolcows, doxing cases, and so on. What I want to highlight is the scale and industrialization of online cruelty, how it developed from isolated, unmonetizable, largely publicly despised cases to normalized industrialization of monetizable cruelty. And
yeah, so like the world where so there's two distinct worlds here. I think I haven't seen the video, but I'm going to assume Asmongold, Daily Wire, and likely Leafy is here are going to be talked about in this. Personal thing, I used to watch a lot of Leafy is here. I was really, really into the, you know, watching the dude fucking CSGO surfing going, oh my god, guys, cringe, ah! Like, I found that really entertaining, but I was also playing a lot of League of Legends back then, so maybe there's a correlation between the games I was enjoying and the kind of content I was consuming. And I remember when, like, the big YouTube people that you would watch would be either, like, something from Smosh, or it would be, like, if it was a short video, it was probably something like Grade A Under A. If it was a review, it was either, like, AVGN or it was Nostalgia Critic. And if it was drama-related, it was Leafy or it was Keemstar. And I remember there being a lot of, like, back and forth back then over whether Keemstar even deserved to be on the platform. Because apparently he had gotten a channel, like, taken down at some point, and YouTube TOS is pretty strict about what to do in that situation. At least it was back then. I remember there being a lot of hurrah about that entire situation at the time, and it's just kind of all disappeared now. But if you wanted cruelty back then, you went to Keemstar. Sorry, I forgot Ray William Johnson was also big, but he was kind of before. I want to say before Keem. Maybe I've got my timings incorrect, but I feel like he was before Keem. This is one of those things that I care about a lot because it factors so much into what I do day to day that I do care about this lore quite a bit.
Honestly, this whole video was inspired by this clip from XQC.
You guys are naming people that are like,
oh, I forgot XQC existed.
And out there racist and fucking like fucking people that promote harm and shit. Yo! That's not cancelled! That's the law! That's the fucking law! When you do a crime, you go to jail! You're not cancelled! You're a criminal!
My
Which,
god, what the fuck?
It's ironic.
Guys, here's XQC talking about cruelty on the internet. Irony, because he's just sitting there enjoying some time with Donald Trump. So this is an issue that bothers the shit out of me. A lot of creators realized that whether it's grifting or just like honestly taking on the ideologies of the right, either way, people learned really, really quickly that right-wingers tend to not be very information-driven, but they really fall for confidence games a lot. So if you can confidently say something that sounds common sense and not do any research, you can get a right-wing audience very quickly. Asmongold does a lot of this.
When talking about drama channels, I don't mean like daily commentary channels like Charlie or Pyrocynical. I'm primarily talking about drama.
Man, fucking Pyro. I haven't thought about Pyro in ages. So, Pyrocynical got his start. Again, correct me on the lore if I'm wrong, but Pyrocynical got his start on the CSGO surfing Leafy is here style of content. That's where he cut his teeth, was being a Leafy is here clone. And I remember Leafy like giving him shade, but then also shouting him out back then. It's wild hearing that he is still around, but Leafy isn't. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad Leafy's not around anymore. I'm 100% happy about that situation. But it is still wild to me that one of these is around still and the other is not.
Channels who either disguise their bullying as criticism on channels solely dedicated to character assassinations and harassment campaigns. You have to understand that an entire industry exists solely focused on destroying someone's life. And
oh my god, how many videos of Hassan are on that channel? So like, okay, Hassan does some stupid shit, and some of the stupid shit Hassan does that I am not a big fan of is stuff like the fucking chair reaction thing, right? Where he'll just play a video and then walk away and then keep doing that for a while instead of like this is the thing you're doing to go get a drink real quick. But from my understanding, he doesn't do that terribly often. I just think the Hassan chair reaction meme is very, very funny. But making an entire career out of strictly dunking on Hassan feels weird to me. Because, like, I get that he is one of the larger lefty content creators. He is. And he had his start on the Young Turks, so he's certainly got the... He certainly got the repertoire in terms of history with people to, to start shit. But it is still strange to me thinking of, like, how important he is to somebody else's bottom line, because their entire channel's genetic makeup is talk about thing Hassan did and nothing else.
An industry.
Oh god, the quartering. Fucking hell. We're getting everybody here. Why did I forget to talk about the quartering in this?
It was especially thriving during the Gamergate era. And surprise, surprise, it of course disproportionately targeted women online, with the most famous target of countless harassment campaigns being Pokemon.
So when you say your issues,
you're right.
like, that's like a heavy word. Like, what do you mean by issues?
For starters, do you know how I can prevent myself from crying during this?
Let me start with this. What's wrong with crying?
I've just been crying a lot.
When we look at maybe the most prominent cases of drama channels like Keemstar or Leafy, we see the real-life consequences this can cause. For ruining a man's life for being wrongly accused of being a pedophile, to laughing at people with mental health problems until it's too late.
Hey, look, I do dark humor and I don't kill people like you do sometimes.
Targeted women oftentimes have a specialized form of harassment they have to deal with. Sexualization. This level of cruelty can literally drive someone to ending their life. This cancerous spread of targeted hatred is unfortunately the logical consequence when hate just makes a ton of money. On a larger scale, this gets particularly frustrating when drama overshadows real-life tragedies. Large tragedies being turned into content farmed for online drama. Like in Cuba, doctors are manually operating ventilators in order to keep babies alive. And all online people care about is a rich socialist staying at a 5-star hotel in Cuba. Like, do you hear yourself? Children are being murdered with your tax money by a pedophile rapist president.
Alright, I like this guy. I definitely like this guy. Nah, he is not only speaking his mind, he is speaking truth. 10 out of 10. You know what? I'm good with that. There's gonna be a right-winger somewhere that's gonna go, oh, you called Trump a pedophile. How stunning and brave. No, I'm willing to just go ahead and swing. I'm willing to swing for this. There's a guy called Ben Hoerman. Seeing somebody who's not only willing to talk about the history of online cruelty and how, like, the weaponization of anger has become one of the most lucrative careers on the internet, but seeing them unafraid to actually go, hey, by the way, here's where my politics stand. Because when you tell people where your politics stand, a lot of times that's when you start getting a lot of harassment. That's when people start dunking on you really hard. Because suddenly they've got ammunition.
Canceling woke moralists. I don't care.
Woke moralists, that's a quote from the guy who's no longer in public life anymore, Kermit the Frog. Sorry, Jordan Peterson. Morbid Corp says, what's with the Hassan guy and why do people hate him? So, like, the history of Hassan goes as follows. And I'm gonna paraphrase it a little bit because there's some stuff in here that I am not an expert on. I'm not an expert on Hassan's history. I've not been a Hassan orbiter for any part of my life, but I do political content, so I tend to get a lot of this stuff via osmosis. So Hassan began as one of the commenters on the Young Turks, and I believe he's family with Cenk Uygur, who's one of the people who owns the Young Turks. And while he was working there, he got in a decent bit of fights with the staff there, sometimes because he's a little further left than the other people there. Eventually, he strut off on his own and made his own Twitch channel, and he already had a decent bit of money because he had, Young Turks money in the beginning. He already had a decent bit of money, but then he became the biggest leftist streamer of all time. Like, in terms of size, for not leftist, but left-wing people, so like I'm including liberals there at that point, you've got, at the very, very tippy top, you've got Hassan. And then right under him, you've got Destiny, and then right under Destiny, you've got Vosh. Now, I know that none of those people have the exact same politics. They are very, very far off from one another. But they are close enough related for the purposes of the comparison. So when you are the biggest creator in that space, you are going to get a lot of stuff aimed at you no matter what. That's just kind of a basic. And then consider the fact that there are people who don't understand what socialism is. Socialism is when workers own the means of production. No more, no less. The means of production being how we make textiles, how we make computers, how we make equipment and guns and all of that. Those factories being owned not by a random person who just happens to have a lot of stock in the company, but by the people who actively work in those factories, that's socialism. That is what it is front to back. So when you get somebody who calls themselves a socialist and then happens to have a lot of money, most people think socialism is communism. Most people in America have been completely brainwashed into thinking they are the exact same thing. So when they hear socialist, they think person who shouldn't have money because from each according to their ability to each according to their need, Doc Conrad. That is their understanding of socialism in a nutshell, which is not socialism. That's just a single pithy part of a manifesto for communism. That's it. There's not a whole lot there. But they still feel like they know a lot because America's propaganda against socialism and communism is pretty all-encompassing, let's say. So they see somebody who has money, and they see that they call themselves a socialist. Their immediate thing is going to be, well, why do you have money? Shouldn't you be a socialist? Socialists don't have money. All of their money goes to the state or the poor or whatever. Which, again, is not what socialism is. But these people who believe themselves to be really smart, and content creators who have audiences of those people where they reinforce those beliefs, they can make a lot of money by going, look at this hypocrite. If you look at most critiques online, if they are not from somebody who is in a field, a lot of times what a lot of us rely on is pointing out hypocrisy. Most of what we can do is simply point out when somebody is not doing something that is ostensibly aligned with what we think their values are supposed to be. And when that happens, we call hypocrite, and then we pat ourselves on the back and say we did a good job. So when people look at Hassan and go, you stayed in an expensive hotel in Cuba, that's not very socialist of you. Zinger. And then that goes and makes a bunch of money on the internet because people start quoting it over and over again, and then people get in fights about it, and then when they get in fights about it, the algorithm then promotes it, and it's a never-ending cycle at that point. So he's got the combination of being the biggest creator and having a history in a more legacy version of that space and having money while being on the left. You put all those together, he's a prime target. Now, I don't have any particular love for Hassan. I don't watch his content. I only know as much as I do about him because he's peripherally involved in what I do, because he's a lefty content creator on the internet, as am I, so there is an argument to be made that we are co-workers or peers, even though numbers would not suggest that. If that weren't the case, if I were, say, a video game content creator, I would probably know a lot less about him. And if I knew a lot less about him, I would probably be very, very prone to some of the really weird criticisms that right-wingers throw at him specifically. Because that's how this stuff works, is you get people who are uninformed, you convince them that their opinion is a uber-smart opinion, and then they repeat it over and over again, telling their friends that they're bad and woke and stupid. It's just a really, really easy way for people to monetize other people's lack of information. And Hassan is a great target. He's got the history and he's got the repertoire to be a fantastic target, basically until the end of time. And if he were to, as long as he succeeds at what he's doing, then he's a fantastic target because he's a hypocritical lefty, as far as people are concerned. And if he fails, then he's an even better target because then he's evidence that his beliefs aren't worth considering. It's a catch-22. No matter what happens with Hassan, there's always an argument that people on the right and liberals are going to be able to throw at him.
Who delivers help? They need help. Where is Mr. Beast? I truly believe that most of them aren't doing this with a calculated, cold-hearted motive. I believe they are so hyper online that they simply cannot fathom real-life suffering anymore. content demons. It's become physically impossible for them to show empathy anymore. If that's not the case, there can only be one other reason why you would focus on a meaningless drama online instead of real-life suffering. Wait, let's look at the drama channels here again. Do you notice something? Mostly the same targets, same talking points. What do a lot of these targets have in common? Woke progressives, if not even leftists. Do these drama channels, or should I even say channels solely focused on grifting, have a political agenda maybe?
Yeah,
I mean, when looking
a lot
at the
of them do.
Gamergate era, it's not a too far-fetched idea, right? What started as meaningless apolitical online drama delves deeper and deeper into right-wing culture war talking points with clear definitions of in-groups and out-groups. You could say that the drama channels are basically just the new tabloids like TMC or The Sun, but in the creator space.
Wait, there's no fucking way that I made that point on a video yesterday. And that's the exact language that's used here. So once upon a time, these were considered tabloids and we thought they were dumb rags. And now we hold these people in just like massive respect on the internet. Okay. I'm not going to say the dude's watching my content because that would be very arrogant. But that's really funny. That is incredibly funny to me.
Mixing harassment campaigns with parasocial relationships creates a potion that gets life-threatening real quick, especially when the target has no security team around them or if there's an ideological agenda mixed into it. This is a ticking time bomb. This level of harassment is only possible due to other platforms fostering this kind of toxic culture, like 4chan, Reddit, or X. The Everything app. The rise of astroturfing the timeline with often out-of-context clips from clip farms fuels the drama and rage bait even more, giving these channels more content to weaponize, which forces us to enter a whole other level of degeneracy online. Streaming. Specifically. Damn, that was fucked up, Ben. You know what's also fucked up? Data brokers. That's what I call a smooth transition. Thank you, Incognito, for sponsoring.
Alright, we're gonna go and skip that.
Where was I?
Kick. Interesting. Okay.
Hey, remember that?
So, you know what felt weird to me? Last year, going to DreamHack and seeing that it was fully sponsored by Kick. That felt really strange. Because Kick is a streaming service, absolutely. It's not unlike Twitch, but Kick has a fuck ton of gambling, less regulation, and the types of people who tend to go to Twitch or tend to go onto Kick are people who've been kicked off of YouTube, kicked off of Twitch. And when you have a platform that is going to be primarily populated by the people who've been kicked off of other platforms, you almost always are going to have the worst of the worst people on those platforms. It's kind of inevitable. It's just what's gonna happen.
Height of prank content on YouTube, casual racism, assault, sexual harassment, even arrest for fake bomb threats. Now imagine this type of entertainment being even way worse and live streamed on one of the biggest streaming platforms that exists, Kick. Kick was created as a competitive platform to Twitch under the umbrella of free speech and marketed as the creator-first alternative with a 95-5 revenue split. Kick began to gain massive popularity after the company and co-founder Trainwreck started paying streamers on Twitch millions of dollars to migrate over to them. Most notably XQC, Aiden Ross, and Drake? Yeah. He apparently loved to stream online gambling and got paid hundreds.
Of course he liked to stream online gambling. He also gambled with his career with, you know, the kids.
Millions of dollars per year. But Kick's creation wasn't of course about goodwill or an ideological stance on free speech. Kick was founded after Twitch began to ban gambling streams on the platform. Who were the most prominent gambling streamers on Twitch? Trainwrecks, XQC, and Aiden Ross. But wait, paying millions of dollars to streamers, 95-5 revenue split. Where does all that money come from? Well, who founded Kick? Next to Trainwrecks, Ed Craven and Bijan Tehrani, co-founders of Stake.com, an online gambling platform. So the company's goal is fairly easy to calculate. The more people are on Kick, the more people could migrate over to Stake.com. So ad revenue isn't their only main income stream, it's also online gambling. The more attention Kick generates, the more...
It's kind of like how Twitch can make as much money as it does and distribute what it does because they're a loss leader. because Amazon makes money elsewhere.
Profit it potentially generates, and the fact that most of the viewers are minors is of course just a cool fun fact.
I ain't turning down $100 million, bro. You got me up, brother. I'll go on there and I will crypto gamble 24/7, dude. At that point, man, it's the parents' fault. You got me up. Them kids, dude, fuck them kids.
More in line with the previously mentioned prank content, you have the likes of Neon or Jack Doherty, who dedicated their entire online presence to being a public nuisance. It's obvious that by being a provocative they hope for any sort of escalation, so the moment can get clipped and distributed by paid clip farmers on platforms like Reddit or X, the everything app. This will boost their virality and attention, therefore more profit. And as the good old prank videos, this type of content is always filled with edginess, racism, or any sort of hate speech.
You're gonna burn in fucking hell, you Jewish.
Goddamn.
And if being a walking sewage isn't enough for you, well then we could go a step further into...
Man, I remember a day and age where when you did that stuff, you basically just got completely socially ostracized, and rightly so. Because everybody recognized immediately that you were a piece of shit, and being around you was generally an unpleasant experience. So we didn't let people who were like really misogynistic and racist actually maintain their popularity. They had to actually like be very, very mask on in order to do that for any long period of time. Good times. Good times. I remember those times. I remember those times well. I miss those times. You know, when canceling actually did anything? Because it hasn't done anything for a long time. Like a really long time. It's been a useless tool forever.
Abuse.
W in the chat if we should go and punch him up. They all want him to get punched up.
A man arrived.
My name's Harrison. Excuse me, my friend.
Then, sensing something was up, tried to leave, as HS's hangers-on kicked him and rained punches down on his head. They accused him.
So, anybody who engages in that, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it right now. I think that you should be allowed to legally have a paintball gun, and whenever they walk out in public, they just get peppered. Like, it just becomes socially acceptable to pepper them. Over and over and over. If you're willing to engage in that level of harassment and cruelty to other people, you should, at the very least, be willing to have it thrown at you.
Of being a predator. I had no way of knowing if this could be true.
Vitaly, a dinosaur in a content creation space and known for his old prank and harassment content on YouTube, is nowadays known for his predator hunting content, trying to catch and secretly film alleged predators. This, as you could imagine, has led to various cases of physical abuse or cultivating an environment that's, well, let's say hostile. And if you thought...
Kinma says, do they have glow-in-the-dark paint for those? They do, in fact, have glow-in-the-dark paint for those. You know how bank money, they have funny money, that when you have it, it just like coats your hands with a bunch of like blue ink so that they can always recognize who you are and where you are, so that you can never like truly escape the scene of a crime. You just get away for a little while and then, you know, they find you because you're covered in blue fucking ink. That concept. Again, you know, for reasons.
He does the public a favor. This has been proven time and time again, that this form of justice only worsens the problems it's trying to solve. And also, by the way, if you really thought this is about his moral conscience of catching pedophiles...
Who did you vote for?
What?
Who did you vote for?
What do you think I voted for?
Kamala?
I did.
Oh, it makes sense. Usually all of them are pedos.
Oh, you going on a pedo?
Yeah.
Not the president and the Jeffrey Epstein and all that stuff?
No, there's no proof on that.
Yeah, there's no proof of that.
Man, every single person that still supports Trump, even though he is, like, just out and out pedophile rapist, every single one of you, absolute clowns. Zor says, funny money? Yeah, funny money. Funny money is a thing that's given to people who rob banks so that they will be able to be tracked after that.
Yeah, because every time we catch a predator, they voted for Kamala Harris. I haven't met a Trump...
Speaking...
Man, every time you catch a predator, they voted for Kamala. Every time you catch a predator, you, like, sit there and go, who did you vote for? Man, that's really weird. That's a strange thing to focus on.
Of sex crimes and pedophilia, yes, this is also a widespread thing that's happening on Kick. From stream to minors to sexual harassment or even filming the act without the knowledge or consent of the woman and distributing it to the fans via Discord.
How old are you?
I'm 16. How old are you?
Guess.
14? 15? Yeah, that's perfect.
What?
Stand up.
What? No. No. What?
Wait, listen. How old are you? I'm 19.
Oh, I'm 16.
Okay, so hot take, maybe not a hot take, maybe this is a cold take, but just looking at it logically, like we could sit here and do the moral outrage about child predators, we can, but like looking at it logically, every person who is a child predator, every single one of them is a loser. Because the reason that they are going after a kid is because they think they have some form of power over them, or alternatively, they think that it's easier to manipulate them. They actually cannot handle a person with like real thoughts, feelings, and emotions that have had a time to develop. They can't handle that. So they need to go for somebody who is underdeveloped. It's gross, obviously, but like it's also easy to point at those people and just show how fucking pathetic they are. Anyway, the United States president is one of those people. Dem voters are pedos, but also 14. Perfect. Yeah, perfect for what, buddy? Do you want to articulate that? Perfect for what?
You said 18?
Yeah.
You could still write this off as edgy pedo jokes. I don't know who the fuck would do that, but you could. It goes beyond making jokes about pedophilia.
Are you 20?
No, I'm not 20.
Are you 18?
I mean, I could see a world where a lot of those jokes are being made, because, like, I come from the era of the internet where pedo bear was one of the, like, most widely proliferated jokes, right? Like, that meme came from my generation specifically. So I can, at the very least, envision a world where there are people who are doing that, and to them it's just a joke. But that joke always began and ended with, like, you'd show a character who looked underage in an anime, and then somebody else would post pedo bear, and then everybody would type, you know, LMAFO. Like, that's basically what you would get. Whereas what's happening here is somebody who's actively looking for a real child and trying to go for them. Like, there's a difference in the layering.
A little younger.
Okay, I'll accept 17. You're 17?
Yeah.
What about you show me your titties? It's a better idea.
I'll show you a picture.
See my screen?
Yep. Unfortunately, I can. Is that a 12-year-old? No,
Bro, that girl just told you she was a sexual assault survivor, and your next question was how many bodies do you have?
Wait, was it? On God?
He goes on Omegle just to get girls to expose themselves so that he can secretly screen record it and post it onto a Discord server under an NSFW channel. That is his content.
To be fair here, all PDF files mentioned here have been banned on Kick, but arguably way too late, and many others are still on the platform. This is just what happens when a platform has little to none moderation, cultivates a culture based on outrage, rage bait, and scandals in order to make as much profit as possible.
An investigation has been launched after a French streamer died taking part in a live broadcast on the online platform Kick.
46-year-old Raphael Gravin, also known as Jean Pomanov to his online followers. He had 600,000 followers on the likes of TikTok, also a big audience on the video streaming site.
I remember when this
Kick,
shit
and it was there
happened.
where he was reportedly taking part in a 10-day marathon live video when he died in his sleep near Nice on Sunday night.
And I'm really only scratching the surface here. If you want to...
God, I remember when that stuff happened, and I if memory serves, I could be wrong, because this has happened a few times, where somebody has sent me a message and saying, like, hey, can you do a video on this? Can you offer condolences? I'm like, I don't know the person. It's a sad situation. It's fucking disgusting. But I didn't know about that person because I don't watch fucking Kick. Oh, is that just the background sound of the video? Yes. Like, I distinctly remember a time where like the going thought was that red rooms and snuff films on the internet and shit like that didn't, like, they weren't really real. But like we live in a world that's been like, what, a decade post Daisy's destruction, and like people dying on fucking Kick on stream. So like we no longer live in that world. We stopped living in that world a long time ago, and that's depressing. Capitalism, man, it's money. Like obviously people do it for cruelty, but there's a financial incentive for it. It's fucking gross.
Deep dive into the degeneracy of Kick content, I highly suggest watching Jay Aubrey, Jabroni, Something About Chickens, and more great creators highlighting this issue. So we have a streaming platform that heavily drives off loose moderation, edgy content, normalizing racism, hate speech, transphobia, homophobia, anti-Semitism, assault, pedophilia, sex crimes, distribution of CP, and more. That has even led to a live-streamed death of a man who was assaulted for days in front of a live audience, with little to no consequences for the streamers. While the founder of Kick can oftentimes be seen engaging with this type of content, only for them to make even more money of potentially driving minors into gambling addictions. An addiction notorious for ruining thousands, if not millions of lives, leading to even worse addictions or worse. So, how can it get even worse than that? Well, when it comes to ruining someone's life, it can't. I mean, yeah, you killed a person. Abuse, distribution of revenge, and CP here. Even a death. So now we've reached a point where we have to go on a more structural, broader level, a more abstract form of cruelty that can influence entire generations, causing real-life domino effects that has the potential to change the lives of millions. There is an ideological pipeline that could start with drama channels or Kick type of content that could lead to more extremist ideologies. While there are various creators potentially responsible for the radicalization of mostly young men, I want to highlight one of Kick's biggest streamers here. The guy who, by the way, advocated for a lot of those previously named streamers to be unbanned. Aiden Ross.
Aiden!
Just to be clear, I am 100% not saying that Aiden is somehow worse than the Kick streamers I've mentioned, and in fact he's far from that. The reason why I want to mention him now is because of his responsibility of spewing and normalizing an ideology that could potentially end up affecting generations, leading to a more radicalized path.
Andrew! I love you. I mean, like, I love you. I love you, man. Like, you don't, I know you have a good heart. I love him, bro. I love him with all my heart. I missed you. You got bigger and you got stronger. And also sexier. A massive... I could just tell you have a good heart. You have good intentions. How could you not smile, XQ? He's great. Andrew, please don't.
Andrew Tate, the fucking sex trafficker, good intentions? Aiden, come on, dude. I mean, I know he's a piece of shit too, but Jesus Christ.
Don't go. So all you guys that get to pick your pronouns, my pronouns is kill/them, okay? Fuck all y'all, bro. Y'all are making the world a shitty place, bro. I'm gonna call you either a guy or a girl. I'm not calling you by a cat, by a turtle.
Nobody is trying to have themselves be called a cat or a turtle. I'm sorry, that's not a thing that's really happening. At the very least, not to a scale that is necessary for you to comment on. Secondly, it's really funny to be the person who, in one breath, says, "You're making the world worse. I think we should kill you." Like, my guy, do you not think that just randomly telling a bunch of American citizens that you want to kill them, just at a baseline, right? Do you not think that maybe, possibly, that is grounds for a tiny bit of scrutiny? The chinless taint.
That tail of fucking whiskers. I don't give a fuck, bro. I don't give a fuck, bro.
If you're already familiar with the manosphere, I think it comes to no surprise that a large chunk of that content bubble overlaps with Kick content, and even drama channels, especially when targeted at female creators. I'll keep it short here, as I've already discussed the manosphere on this channel enough, to the point of exhaustion. Kick, drama channels, or god, I haven't even talked about podcasts, are the perfect vehicle for the expansion and normalization of manosphere ideologies. The rise of Clavicula proves how parts of the incel culture have already become mainstream. Many Kick streamers aren't just spreading the word of the Tates like subservient missionaries.
Thank you for the hydrate, Robbie.
but also adopt many of their business strategies like online pimping, stealing a portion of OnlyFans models' income in exchange for promoting them, while simultaneously preaching about the downfall of Western men and society due to club culture, porn, horror.
You know, it's really weird. Be the person who, like, freaks out about the downfall of Western civilization and Western men, and then wax lyrical about wanting to do children. Y'all, I saw a post months ago on Twitter. Months ago. And I'm paraphrasing the post, obviously, because I don't want to say the exact words, and it's also been a long enough time where I don't have them memorized, because I try not to memorize this kind of, like, tainted shit. But they basically said, I can understand why the Greeks were so gay. Look at what their underage boys look like. And it was a very feminine-looking guy who, I guess when they said underage, I'm guessing the person would have had to have been, 15, 16 or so. I don't know. But when somebody is saying stuff like that, they're like, I get why they're gay. I mean, look at their underage femboys. I feel like maybe there's something in the water. There's something incorrect about how you were brought up, and maybe don't. I wish I had the post, though, because that's one of those things where, like, I feel as though me saying it, there's going to be somebody very, very quickly who's going to go, there's no fucking way. Because it sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous, but people have posted weirder shit online.
Or body counts. Well, at least they are doing this with their consent. This is grifting, and they are self-aware of that.
You've got 500,000 people on your Telegram, right?
Yeah.
And you're advertising OnlyFans girls on there.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a contradiction there?
No, because I openly say I don't give a fuck, and I'm doing it for money. I don't care about
the morality of it.
I know it's not good. I say to people, don't watch porn. It's sad. It's loser shit.
You can't say I promote it, but I discourage people from doing it.
But you can.
Why not try and be a good person?
If I'd just done good things, I would never have really blown up on social media in the first place.
There's one problem,
Jesus
however.
fucking Christ.
Little kids, huh?
You always have to adapt your content, otherwise it gets boring real fast. That's the downside of content that relies on shock value, outrage, and rage bait. You always gotta be even more outrageous, more extreme, pushing the boundaries.
You gotta go to the
more
next
and more.
level.
This
You gotta
is
be
not a
more
sustainable
edgy.
model. In order to not get banned into the shadow realms of irrelevance, you are pushed to do this kind of stuff.
You know, I'm kind of thinking we should bring the Nazi salute back. Because the people we've been arguing with for the last 4 years have no interest in objective truth. Hail SpaceX!
Man. You know, years ago, we did a thing to people who did that salute. We killed them. It was World War II. It was a good time, let me tell you. What a fucking loser. Jesus.
When confronting them about this, they'll just say that this was ironic or just a joke. You know,
it's all
the
irony,
spineless
dude.
shit you would imagine. Well, unless you're this guy.
We'll collab this week.
Oh,
Me and
yep.
Sneak are going to collab this week. We're going to play Fort with Bradley Martin and maybe Aiden Ross, maybe Cheezer. So we're going to be doing our collab. We'll squash it on Tilted Towers.
Here's my advice. Here's a little piece of advice. Be a fucking man, okay? That's the biggest difference, and Tate is so right. It is girls versus boys. The world is being divided now. You've got women and on one
You're
side.
the one who's
And you
dividing
got
it.
real on the other. Real men, real guys with real balls. That's the difference. Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies. It's your body, my choice.
We're gonna do streamer awards, and we're gonna do the real awards. Nick Fuentes deserves a fucking award, am I right? So we're gonna give out awards to people on the internet who actually deserve awards.
Look, and we...
Man, Do you guys remember? You guys wouldn't remember, I don't think, but side-scrollers. Side-scrollers did that shit. Where they went, no, we're going to do the real video game awards because the actual video game awards are bad and woke. And so they did the real video game awards. I feel like anytime somebody does that the real awards ceremony shit, it's either always cope or it's a front for some weird type of bigotry.
We like Aiden Ross. We ride for Aiden Ross. We stand Aiden Ross. Aiden Ross is good. I don't care what anybody says. Aiden Ross is one of the good ones. That's the homie. The Jote, the Jew of all time.
Jewish girl,
the man.
Holy shit. And we thought PewDiePie introducing Ben Shapiro to a young, impressionable audience was bad. Remember the intellectual dark web? Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Eric and Brett Weinstein, Dave Rubin, and I'm not fucking kidding, Joe Rogan, right-wing intellectuals, flooding the podcast commentary scene, destroying snowflake liberals with facts and logic. While this multi-billion-dollar backed content bubble, mainly financed by the Koch family by the way, successfully pushed the Overton window back to the right. In 2026, that type of content became quite outdated. Looking at the data here, most of the channels have lost a large chunk of their audience. To understand this, you have to know that the new right in the US is basically divided in two camps here. The classic neoconservatives pro-Israel camp with Ben Shapiro, Ted Cruz, Jordan Peterson, and the America First, 4chan, alt-right, mostly anti-Israel camp who largely felt betrayed by Trump. Important note here, anti-Israel is, in this specific case, and yes dear German viewer, only in this specific case, actually anti-Semitic, because we're talking about these guys here. Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Candace Owens, and most importantly, Nick Fuentes. The MAGA party is being ripped apart, especially after the Gaza genocide and the illegal war against Iran. And no, this isn't a good thing. This will determine the future of the MAGA cult, and therefore not only the future of the US, but of the entire planet. And it actually looks like the even more radical, in parts openly neo-Nazis, are the future of the Republican Party.
This morning, new fallout after the leak of racist text messages linked to members of young Republican groups across the country. The website Politico says it obtained 7 months' worth of messages from a group chat in which racist and anti-Semitic slurs were used more than 250 times.
It's 2026 and Trump is saying MAGA means war with Iran, no Epstein files, MAGA is dead. We are America first. This means nothing. Fuck this movement. If MAGA means Lindsey Graham, Laura Loomer, Barry Weiss, and Netanyahu, and not Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, and Tucker, then MAGA is garbage. It is a dead brand. No young person wants to be a part of this. Nobody is enthusiastic about it, and it is a joke.
We are witnessing the 4chanification of the Republican Party, and therefore the rise of open Nazism. Whoa, stop, Ben. Not everything you don't like is a Nazi. Okay, but we have to agree on something, right? So how about I pull out quotes from no Nazis as a baseline? Can we at least agree that these statements are what you would also call in line with Nazi ideology?
Die Gesellschaft würde sich sofort und dramatisch verbessern, wenn wir die untersten 5 bis 10% der zurückgebliebensten Kinder aus der Schule nehmen und stattdessen in die Kohlegruben stecken würden. Fast alle westlichen Kulturprobleme sind auf den blinden Glauben.
So for those who were audio only and might not be able to read that, society would instantly and dramatically improve if we took the bottom 5 to 10% of the most R-slurred kids out of school and put them in the coal mines instead. Almost all Western cultural problems are derived from adherence to the false god of equality.
An den falschen Gott der Gleichheit zurückzuführen. Diese parasitären Migranten, wir haben eine Infektion. Es gibt offensichtlich ein Problem und es gibt offensichtlich eine Lösung.
These parasitical migrants, we have an infection. There's clearly a problem and there's clearly a solution, but we don't want to talk about that. I will be packing these guys up every day. I will show up at their house. I will be so brutal to these people. People will say it's too much. I will film them crying. I hate it. Normal stuff to say, by the way.
Aber darüber wollen Sie nicht reden. Ich würde diese Typ jeden Tag jagen. Ich würde vor ihren Haustüren auftauchen. Ich würde so brutal zu diesen Menschen sein, dass man sagen würde, das sei zu viel. Ich würde sie beim Flennen aufnehmen. Ich hasse sie. Ich werde keine Träne verlieren, wenn sie Völkermord in ihre Gesetze eingeschrieben haben, selbst ausgerottet zu werden. Das kümmert mich nicht im Geringsten. Sie sind schrecklich! Das steht außer Frage. Sie sind nicht eure Verbündeten, sie sind nicht wie wir. Sie kommen aus einer minderwertigen Kultur, die grauenhaft ist. Und sie steht in direktem Widerspruch zu allem, wofür westliche Werte stehen. Und sie ist in jeder Hinsicht minderwertig. So einfach ist es.
Okay, these are the baselines. With these baselines in mind, let's continue and look at the content of some creators who are representatives of the 4chan America First Gamergate type. Let's start with the most obvious example here.
Nick Fuentes.
Then should worry about what's happening in the cotton fields, right? Go sing your slave song.
What do you say, all things considered, that the Holocaust is...
Morbid says, why do we tolerate this? So, it's because we're not the ones who have power. That's the thing, is that, like, the broad we who tolerates this isn't a we that has any particularly solid definition. The broad we who tolerates this is you, me, and everybody else, but, like, none of those people have any say in it, so we're not really tolerating anything because we don't have any say in it. We just don't have any power there. As for the United States, if we're talking about, like, the U.S. as an apparatus, then the reason that the United States tolerates it is because for years it has broadly benefited the United States to be a country that espouses racism. It's been financially beneficial to us in the past. It has been religiously beneficial to us. It's been beneficial to us in a number of ways as a country to be racist as shit, and that's disgusting. It's gross. That should not be the reality we live in. But money is a motivator, and it turns out that having a very racist country means that you can do things like, say, abolish slavery, but then allow slavery in the prison system, and then use that prison system as a vehicle to get free and cheap labor, which is, you know, just slavery. Like, that's all that is. Again, the reason that we tolerate it is because it is broadly beneficial to us, financially or otherwise. And there is nothing about that that should be celebrated. There's nothing about that that is okay. There's nothing about that that is good. But that is our reality, regardless. Irrespective of what we want, irrespective of what's good or true. That's a thing that we've been needing to change in America for a while, and that's the kind of change that takes a long time, because it takes generations unlearning hatred. And that does not happen quickly. And sometimes it doesn't happen without violence.
Wrong?
If it were real, yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It is, and it is, and it absolutely is.
You're so fucking spineless. How the fuck can you sit in front of 45,000 people and say that the most well-documented thing that has ever happened in history might not have happened? How the fuck do you know that Jesus resurrected from the dead, but you don't know if the Holocaust happened? Please answer that question. The Shroud of Turin is a more reliable standard for evidence than the 250 independent sources that would justify that the...
Do you know what's happening in Europe and the United States? The white population is being genocided. We don't want to hear any more about your ancestors in the Holocaust. We don't want to hear about it. We don't care. We're in the middle of a Holocaust.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he is an open neo-Nazi. There is no room for discussion here. If you like Fuentes and what he promotes, then at least have the fucking guts and openly say that you're also a neo-Nazi or at least an open fascist. That is why I don't think that Fuentes is currently the most dangerous creator out there, as he's not hiding his real intentions here. If you are
he doesn't hide his power level, that's
you
fair.
Automatically out yourself as an open sympathizer of Nazi ideology. This could potentially be too upfront, or actually too openly extreme for a lot of people, especially when they aren't too deep into the online far-right pipeline yet. Fuentes is the end of the pipeline. The most dangerous creator, who currently outpaces all of them in reach and influence, is also someone who has been the most watched Twitch streamer worldwide multiple times and even outranked Kendrick Lamar and iShun Speed in 2025 in most such terms on YouTube.
Who?
Asmongold.
Oh yeah, no, fucking
I think
Asmon.
I'm gonna resolve to become a club guy in Miami. Maybe these Jews and women.
Yeah, I forgot that he, like, openly promotes Nick Fuentes. Like, that's just a thing he does. He's super pro Nick Fuentes. He wants to gargle his balls.
And blacks aren't so bad. But then they proved me right. My former life of hatred and anti-Semitism is completely vindicated. I am doubling down. More anti-Semitism, more Hitler, more racism, more sexism.
Why is that?
Oh my God!
Why is that something to celebrate, Asman? Can you explain why that's something that we should be openly celebrating? Why that's a good thing? Can you explain it to the class like I'm 12? Is that something you could do? Because, like, I don't understand it.
In the club? Well, then, now we're going even harder than ever.
Oh, I love it.
Wait for me?
Yeah?
I'm kidding.
Oh my God. Wow. Please link this. That was fucking funny. They are doing it so they can continue.
Yeah, why is it funny? So, like, here's the thing. You watch that brain poison shit and you start thinking that it's funny because you think that the people who are supplying that content are doing it ironically. But they're almost never doing it ironically. They're almost always, like, full-chested these days when they're saying and doing that shit. It's gross.
Continue to fund these parasite migrants into our country. And by the way, for you guys that are in Europe that are watching this, the same thing's happening over there. The West has a huge problem that we have an infection and we refuse to admit that there's a problem. There is clearly a problem, there is clearly an affliction, and there is also clearly a solution.
Remember,
but they don't want to talk about
Remember, it's all irony pilled. It's all irony poisoned until he just starts espousing it.
that because it might make them feel bad. You think about killing random people? Yeah, all the time. Oh, constantly.
What?
All the time.
What? Hold on. Who the fuck actually says that? I mean, obviously Asman. I had not seen that clip. I have not seen the Asman waxes lyrical about wanting to kill people clip. That one's new to me.
Yeah, if somebody makes me mad or something like that, yeah, of course.
As so often with these types of political creators, they actually started with a completely different type of content, which made them popular. While Asman has always primarily been a gaming streamer, he was ultimately one of the edgier ones.
Now, I was in high school at the time that Hurricane Katrina happened. And a lot of the displaced people from Hurricane Katrina went to my high school. And they would all wear the same t-shirts, and they were fucking animals. Every single one of them. Honestly, the hurricane could have done a better job. I fucking hated him.
Until two specific events on the internet really pushed him to the person he is today.
Wokeness in video games.
Gamergate, and the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. Especially his coverage of the trial exploded Asman's viewership.
It's a crazy person, right? And this is the problem, is that like whenever you're dealing with a crazy person, you never know what's gonna happen. You don't know what they're gonna do. You don't know what they're gonna say. It's awful.
Asman is the perfect representation of the modern online right. Lonely, mostly white, young, incredibly online, socially isolated, angry man. It is one thing, being a member of a community as most of them fell victim to the slow radicalization process by admiring a creator they have a parasocial bond with, while also having rightful frustrations with a system that fucks all of us, but who are being misled into meaningless cultural bullshit. It is a totally other thing, however, when the agitator not only leads the community further down this radicalization process, but fucking profits from it.
I don't need to understand whatever article you want me to read. All I need to understand is human psychology and incentives. And incentives and human psychology.
This fucking clip, this is like one of those legendary Asman clips that is going to chase him down until he finally fucking dies. Because he's not going to lose money, right? He's a multi-millionaire. He has so much money that he actively does not know how much money he has. Like, there are very few people on the planet who don't have an eagle eye on what their wallet looks like. And usually it's because they don't have to. And I also don't see him becoming a better person. I don't see him improving as a person. I used to think his content was dumb and scummy back when the only thing he was doing was like World of Warcraft classic content and like Path of Exile content. Because from my perspective, it was just a lot of low-effort stuff, and I couldn't see how people, like, gravitated to it. It didn't make any sense to me. But now, I'm starting to see why people gravitated to it. It's because hatred sells. Hatred sells to a pretty penny.
Are the deciding factors of how people will behave. I don't need to read your little special book or your Wikipedia article or anything else besides that. None of that stuff matters. What matters fundamentally is how do people act, how do people think, and how do people respond to incentives. If you can understand that, then nothing else matters. It's pretty simple.
You're either a self-aware...
It's pretty simple because you simplify everything. You don't think about the things you say, you just say them. Like, anything can be pretty simple when you are willing to just ignore facts.
A closeted far-right extremist yourself, or in most cases probably, especially in Asmon's case, just the dumbest, most unaware immature Hurensohn, like the good little bootlicking ficker they are. Even when stripped any ideologies whatsoever, I can't for the love of God understand how anyone would look at someone like that and not be utterly repulsed by it, even if you like his politics.
Like, if I knew that I could get these people deported and sent back to fucking Guatemala or Somalia or wherever the fuck they came from, if I knew I could do that, I would take a break from my stream. I'd stream less so I could do that all the time. I would be backing these guys up every day. Oh no.
How do you watch that and feel like you're not the bad guy? Like, how do you do that? How does that happen? I feel like anybody who's watching that content, watching him say those things, like, can at the very least understand why other people would consider them a villain. Like, it's not a very hard thing to guess in my book. Like, oh yeah, no, the guy who's actively saying to do all the things that the Nazis did in their time, 100%, that guy, that's my guy, he's not evil. The Nazis were the good guys, actually.
Well, I'd show up at their house with the ICE agents. I'd show up like Ash Ketchum. I'd say, guess what? Guess what? Get your shit. Nah, bring your family too. Let's go, boys. Come on. Get in the van. Get in the red and blue van. Gotta catch them all. That's right. I would do this, and honestly, I'd make videos about them, like other, you know, like, and I'm gonna be real. Like, I would be so brutal to these people. People would say it's too much. I would be filming them crying, walking out, getting dragged out. I'd put like Pokemon themed music over it. I'd do the whole thing.
How do you say that kind of stuff and not like get shot? I'm sorry. I feel like at a certain level of just like abject evil and cruelty, people would go, hey, maybe this person doesn't need to have their platform, much less anything else. I'm not saying anybody should do that. Free speech is a thing. People are allowed to say what they want. I'm just surprised that more violence has not happened to Asmon, given the kind of violence that he supports.
I hate him. I hate him. I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. It's not even a question. These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity, and it is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for, and it is an inferior culture in all ways. It is that simple. This low-income, ignorant, delusional, brain-dead, third-world importation of all of these illiterate people that can't speak English, that have no fucking skills, live off the government, and are effectively parasites on the United States of America is a class war.
As you might have already guessed, remember the baselines? The quotes? I lied to you. These aren't quotes from Goebbels, Göring, or Himmler. They are all from Asmongold. And don't bitch out by saying, well, but the context matters. The pathetic cowardice of people demanding context of these clips are hiding their real intentions here, rationalizing, looking for justifications of his ideology and therefore theirs. The difference between the Asman and Fuentes audience is simple. Asman's viewers are just closeted fascists.
And
Then
Nick's
again,
aren't.
a core tenet of fascism is making weak men feel strong by executing violence against others for them. The ultimate daddy issue cockchair. The point I'm trying to make in this entire video here is to show you that the manufactured outrage, the pushing the boundaries more and more, making edgier and edgier jokes, being as controversial as possible. This tactic of content creation not only mirrors the main tactic of the modern far-right, but is also the main recruitment strategy of modern fascists. Pushing the extreme normalizes the obscene, political extremism, and pure cruelty. Unmoderated, edgy content radicalizes. And the White House knows this.
They support it. They actively want more of it to happen. And now we're at Trump. Yay, Trump. He's my favoritist ever. God, I love when he does president things.
It's not a coincidence. One person clearly understood all of this, unlike the rest of us. The Leni Riefenstahl of the Tea Party, as the founder of Breitbart called him. Steve Bannon, one of the main architects of the modern far-right. Bannon knew that by being able to influence culture, you're also able to influence politics, mobilizing angered gamers during the Gamergate hate.
Oh, this is the whole, like, politics is downstream from culture, or culture is downstream from politics shit.
Hate campaign was his first successful test ground, together with Milo Yiannopoulos. He saw the potential in politically mobilizing a huge online army, and it didn't take long for other creators to notice that manufacturing outrage was like hitting the jackpot. What had initially been niche hate forums on 4chan now infects the White House. Even though Gamergate has been discussed to death, I don't think that the majority of people realize the massive ripple effects it caused. It's of course bullshit to attribute the rise of fascism solely to phenomena like Gamergate, as I mentioned in the new essays of fascism. The main reason should be blamed on neoliberalism and therefore the losing trust in the democratic system. Fascists exploit this by tapping into that collective frustration. They amplify the feeling of despair by manufacturing more and more outrage. That amplified anger can now be turned into moral outrage instead of facing real systemic issues. That moral outrage, culture war, is a self-sustaining machine, protecting capital interests. We lose ourselves in individual moralism, cancel culture drama bullshit, while losing parts of our humanity and basic decency in the process. This is a bipartisan issue, by the way. And I'm of course not saying that Bannon is directly responsible for the hateful drama channels or the edgy, outright illegal content on Kick.
He's just part of it. He's just part and parcel to it, and it helps him more than anything, because Steve Bannon's the flood the zone guy. He actively argues that if we can get more and more people freaking out about a particular problem, whether or not the problem matters, it adds political noise. And the more things you can get people to freak out about, again, whether or not it matters, the more noise you can generate. And the more noise you can generate, the easier it is for you to have a political movement, because people cannot deal with everything you're putting into the stream at once. You flood the zone.
Understood the online gaming culture and the potential in co-opting this toxicity in order to mobilize a group of young men online. Even the 4chanification is an openly stated strategy of Bannon. Loose moderation has become a political strategy of tech bros in Silicon Valley after Trump's second term. Especially after Musk's takeover of Twitter, the niche Groyper hate forums on 4chan finally breached containment and flooded the mainstream timeline. Combine this with Charlie Kirk's assassination and you've got a power vacuum among the young Republicans, ready to be filled with the Groyper 4chan movement led by Fuentes. We must face the reality that there is no separation between the digital and the analog anymore. And Asmongold teaches us more about our political zeitgeist than a 1-hour debate of political scientists on TV. Everything you hear on the world stage has already happened ages ago on the internet. Online culture is literally in the White House.
So I have a friend I play Magic with a lot, and I remember getting angry about Steven Anderson and talking about my experiences dealing with his cult on just over at a friend's house while we were playing Magic. And I remember hearing the words, okay, but outside of the internet, what does any of this affect? Like, what does any of this actually affect outside of the online space? And I think we're starting to get to the point where that question can be answered pretty easy. Like this. Exactly like this.
Oh no, it isn't Mr. Beast who ruined YouTube. It's the Epstein class, funding the modern fascists in order to distract the public with cultural bullshit from what actually matters. Capital. This progression of industrialized cruelty has always been inevitable. Steve Bannon. Just perfect the game. It's the game that is sick, and that sickness is monetized spectacle fueled by algorithms, monopolies, and the accumulation of wealth caused by the virus, which is... You know this as well. You just don't like the big bad C word.
Anytime you end a thing by pointing out that actually capitalism's the problem, there's going to be somebody invariably that pushes against that going, capitalism can't be the problem, or they'll accuse you of trying to, like, create a problem that doesn't really exist. It's like, no, just people having money isn't the problem. That's not what capitalism is. Capitalism isn't just random Joe Schmoes having money. It's not. Never has been. And it is a very convenient obfuscation to pretend that that is the case. In Russian accent, capitalism. I will go to the one place capitalism has not infected. Sparse!
Those in power will do everything they can to protect that, even if that means mobilizing fascists worldwide. No, not because capitalists are just greedy and evil people, but the system that produces them.
It's because capitalism as a system incentivizes people to do things that are against, well, common sense if you're trying to not be cruel. Like, I'm willing to use common sense in this particular case. Because capitalism doesn't care about human achievement. It doesn't care about human well-being. It, as a system, doesn't have cares. No system can. But insofar as we can anthropomorphize it to actually have a care, it cares about making money. And it cares about making money at all costs. And oftentimes, those real costs are just human lives. That's what at all costs ultimately means. It will ultimately end in human lives disappearing. Think about climate change. Think about that for a second. Why do we have so many people who push back against climate change? Not regular Joe Schmoes like, you know, your weird racist uncle, but the people who your weird racist uncle watches. Those people. Why do they think climate change isn't real? Aside from the fact that somebody, you know, benefits from it. It's because it costs less money to pretend that climate change doesn't exist, because then you don't have to do anything about it, and you don't have to have any personal responsibility for your hand in it. And I'm not saying personal responsibility in the Captain Planet way. Captain Planet was 100% propaganda to try to argue to you that you, yes, you, individual user, are ultimately responsible for the bad things happening. Ultimately, you are the one who needs to use 1 liter less water per week in order to stop climate change. Which has always been a stupid fucking idea. The majority of pollutants, the majority of problems when it comes to our climate are perpetuated by big industries, not random Joe Schmoes.
Is the issue. It's the game they are playing that produces this behavior. So, we've reached a point where dedicated platforms for genuine self-expression, emancipation, and community building turned into platforms fostering drama, negativity, cruelty, and straight-up unfiltered Nazism on an industrial level. I miss the times when putting yourself on the internet was really mainly just this.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Asmongold, and today we're in Nax, and
a place to share your hobbies, passions, and creativity. And for a lot of people, It still is. But honestly, hoping that the internet could be just that is a very naive, utopian vision when it is driven by spectacle, interests, and profit. And the most fucked up part about all of this is I just can't look away.
You know what? That was good. That was a very good presentation. It argued the points very, very well in regards to what the failures of the current system are, what the issues are. The only problem I have with it is that in all of the 40 minutes, there was no solution given. Now, we could make the argument that there was an understated solution. Abolish capitalism. Like, you abolish capitalism, you abolish a lot of these issues. But I think that there's more to it than that. There's always going to be more to it than that. So did you know the climate summit is often sponsored by Coke, one of the biggest polluters? Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. None of that surprises me at all. Because, I mean, what else would it be? It's gonna be a giant corporation, no matter what. Some corpo's gonna have their hand in it, of course. Why not Coca-Cola? Why not something else, you know? Fuck it, I hate this reality. So didn't they have it at Dubai at some point? I don't remember, because I don't pay a lot of attention to that specifically. Like, there's a lot of stuff in regards to the internet and online culture that I have to pay attention to. But where they have that summit is not one of them. Seriously, you could make a solar-powered version of Boeing and you'd be rolling in cash. But no, how would you do solar-powered Boeing? Just that's one of those things that, like, it sounds really good, but I don't know enough about the tech and its limitations to know why that would or would not work. Like, that's outside of my expertise so far that there's not a whole lot I can do with that statement. Like, I want to give pushback to it, but I don't even know why I would give pushback to it, other than the fact that it feels like maybe there's some information that we wouldn't know. So the main difficulty is you would need a lot of area of solar panels. I guess that is one issue. But again, outside of my expertise, I remember the memes ages ago of, like, people saying, "Hey, we got water-powered cars," and so it's unfortunate that a child is now disappeared by the government. Y'all remember that? But also, you'd need batteries. You would need a lot of batteries. That's true. Many. There's my take. Anyway, good video. Go check out his channel. For those who don't know, the channel is Ben Hoerman. Hoerman. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Blitzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.